I never planned to adopt a dog that day. But when a starving, mud-covered puppy climbed into my car and refused to leave, everything changed. That moment wasn't just rescue, it was destiny. What followed was a bond so powerful it shocked everyone who witnessed it. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The afternoon sun dipped low on the horizon as I drove along the quiet road. It was one of those days where everything felt routine, same route, same scenery, same silence. But fate has a way of disrupting ordinary moments. That's when I saw her. A small, frail shape stood trembling at the edge of the road. At first, I thought it was just a shadow. But as I slowed the car, the figure came into focus. A tiny puppy, no bigger than my hand, her fur matted with mud, her ribs faintly visible. Her ears drooped, her eyes wide with exhaustion. Yet there was something in her gaze, something that begged for a chance. I hesitated, my hands gripping the wheel. Strays were common around here. Most ran the moment a human came close. But something tugged at me, a whisper that said, "Stop the car." Against logic, I pulled over, opened the door, and waited. To my astonishment, she didn't run. She stumbled forward, her tiny paws dragging, and before I could react, she climbed straight into the passenger seat. She curled into a ball, let out the faintest sigh, and in that moment, chose me. For a moment, I just sat there, stunned. The little puppy hadn't hesitated, hadn't looked back. She had climbed into the car as though she had been waiting for me all along. She curled tightly on the seat, her body trembling, her nose pressed against the worn fabric as if she had finally found safety. Her smell was a mix of dirt and rain, her fur tangled and rough. Every rib along her side was visible, proof of days, maybe weeks, without food. I reached slowly for a bottle of water and a sandwich from the dashboard. Her head lifted weakly, and the instant the water touched her tongue, she lapped it desperately. The sandwich disappeared in seconds, crumbs clinging to her whiskers. I whispered, "It's okay now," though part of me wasn't sure what I had just agreed to. Taking her in meant responsibility. It meant a commitment I hadn't planned for. But when she looked up at me with those pleading, glassy eyes, I knew there was no turning back. She wasn't just asking for food. She was asking for a home. And deep inside, I realized this wasn't an accident. She hadn't chosen my car. She had chosen me. The first night was the hardest. I carried her into my home, wrapped in an old towel, unsure if she would even make it till morning. She refused the soft bed I laid out for her and instead curled up on the floor by the door, as if afraid she would be thrown back outside. I stayed awake listening to her tiny whimpers, my heart aching at every sound. Around midnight, I placed a bowl of warm milk beside her. She sniffed cautiously, then drank with such hunger it broke me. When she finished, she walked unsteadily to my feet and collapsed, her head resting on my shoe as if claiming me as her anchor. The following days were a blur of small miracles. A wag of her tail when I called softly. The way she followed me from room to room, her paws dragging on the floor but her determination unshaken. And the first time she licked my hand, a tentative touch that spoke louder than words. In those moments, I understood she wasn't just surviving anymore. She was learning to trust. And I wasn't just her rescuer. I was slowly becoming her human. By the end of the week, it was clear this little puppy had no intention of leaving my side. Every step I took, she was there, padding behind me in the kitchen, sitting patiently in the garden, and curling beside me on the couch as if she had always belonged. Her loyalty was unshakable. If I walked into another room, she whimpered until I returned. At night, she refused the soft bed I bought for her, climbing instead onto my blanket and pressing her tiny body against mine. The warmth of her breathing lulled me to sleep in a way I hadn't known in years. Neighbors began to notice. They'd smile when they saw her trotting proudly by my side on morning walks, her head high despite her small size. "She's attached to you," they said, half in surprise, half in admiration. But I knew the truth. It wasn't attachment. It was a bond forged in survival. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I watched her chase her own shadow across the yard. My chest tightened with the realization. She hadn't just found food or shelter. She had found her person, and in return, I had found mine. It happened one stormy night. Thunder shook the windows, and rain pounded against the roof like an angry drum. I was reaching for the flashlight when a sudden noise outside made my heart skip, a rattling at the gate, followed by heavy footsteps in the yard. Before I could react, the puppy sprang from her blanket. Her tiny frame stiffened, ears pointed, and a growl rumbled from her chest, a sound far too fierce for a creature so small. She planted herself in front of me, her eyes locked on the door, as if daring whatever was outside to come through. The noise grew louder. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone, but my fear was eased by the sight of her courage. She wasn't running. She wasn't hiding. She was standing guard, ready to protect me at any cost. Moments later, the footsteps faded into the storm. Perhaps it was nothing, or perhaps her bark was enough to scare away whoever lingered outside. I pulled her into my arms, heart racing. That night, I realized something powerful. She hadn't just chosen me for safety. She had chosen me to protect, and she already saw me as hers. Weeks turned into months, and the frail puppy who had once climbed into my car transformed before my eyes. Her ribs no longer showed. Her fur grew thick and glossy, and her eyes sparkled with life. Each day she seemed stronger, as if determined to prove that she was no longer the weak stray I had found trembling by the roadside. Her personality blossomed too. She chased butterflies in the garden, tumbled across the grass in clumsy rolls, and wagged her tail with unrestrained joy at the smallest things, a pat on the head, a tossed stick, or simply my voice calling her name. Her fear of the world had melted away, replaced by a confidence that made her shine. Sometimes I would sit back and just watch her, realizing how much she had changed my life. The quiet house that once felt empty now echoed with playful barks and laughter. Saving her had started as an act of kindness, but somewhere along the way, it became clear she had saved me, too. Years have passed since that day on the roadside, yet the memory of her tiny body climbing into my car is etched into my heart. Forever, she is no longer the frail, trembling stray I once carried home in my arms. She has grown into a loyal, graceful companion who still refuses to let me out of her sight. Every morning, she greets me with excited eyes and a wagging tail, as if grateful for another day by my side. Every evening, she curls against me, her head resting on my lap, a silent reminder of the bond we share. Through storms, struggles, and quiet days, she has never once left me. People often ask why I kept her, why I didn't just drop her at a shelter. I smile, because the truth is simple. She didn't just find me. She chose me. And in choosing me, she gave me something priceless, unconditional love. She may have been homeless that day, but I know now, I was the one rescued. And that bond will last a lifetime.